So am I understanding that when an unpleasant event happens, are we meant to focus on what the trigger of that event may be and just be mindful about it, or are we meant to think about the event? So when it happens, what do we actually do?
It's really about noticing and bringing your attention to that. So life can be stressful, things happen, and say someone bumps into you in the street, really that doesn't have any significance, only the significance you attach to it. And if you're not mindful, your mind can just go off spiralling into how that's another person, and how awful you are, or how brilliant you are, or how wrong the world is. And it's just thoughts, really. So it's about noticing that thing happens. And if you go off into thought, noticing that as well. But if you don't notice it, you have no control over it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You can't choose your response. You can only react. So it's about one of the big ideas in this is to move away from, or giving you the choice, so you don't just have to react to things that are happening, but you can respond in a much more appropriate way. So I'm going to read some information now from the Bangor Centre for Mindfulness Research 8-week MBSR course. Stressful things are part and parcel of life itself, but it's how we handle those things that makes the difference to the impact they have on our lives. Becoming more aware of the thoughts, feelings and body sensations evoked by events gives us the possibility of freeing ourselves from habitual automatic ways of reacting, so we can instead mindfully respond in much more skillful ways. So in general, we react to experiences in our lives in one of three ways, either with indifference, so we tune out or switch off from the present moment and what's actually happening and go somewhere else in our heads, completely tuning out from that experience, or with attachment, wanting to cling on or hold on to experiences and not let them go that we're having right now, or wishing that the experiences we're having right now was something completely different, or with aversion, wanting to avoid, push away or get rid of experiences that we're having right now that we don't like or don't want. Each of these ways of reacting can cause problems, particularly the tendency to react to unpleasant feelings with aversion. For now, our focus is to become more aware of our experiences as we react automatically. This awareness is the first essential step towards responding mindfully. So regularly practicing meditations like the sitting meditation gives us many opportunities to notice when we've drifted away from our awareness of the moment, to note with a friendly awareness that whatever it was that took our attention away, and to gently but firmly bring our attention back to our focus of attention, reconnecting with that moment by moment awareness. But other times of day, the invitation is to make the choice to use the breathing space whenever we notice unpleasant feelings of tightening or holding in the body. It provides us with an opportunity to loosen the grip of habitual automatic reactions to difficult experiences. And we're going to go through a meditation in a minute called the 3-minute breathing space. Has anyone heard of the stress reaction cycle before? So it's really like the alarm fight or flight response, and it looks a bit like that. So I guess this would be better if we had pictures, but there are stresses in life, and this can be external or external, say something happens to you or whatever. And really, whether they're internal or external doesn't matter. It's about that you perceive them as a threat, right? It's that threat perception which leads to the fight or flight response, which you might have heard of. And then there's a whole host of chemicals that get released into your body, which have all kinds of cause all kinds of reactions and things. And this can lead to, chronic anxiety, headaches, backaches, hyperarousal, high blood pressure, which in turn can lead to maladaptive coping strategies like self-destructive behaviours, overworking, hyperactivity and overeating, which then feeds in and causes more stress, and that can lead to substance dependency, and, drugs, alcohol, or even things like caffeine and food, again, which leads in and causes more stress on the body, and that can lead to breakdown eventually, loss of drive, enthusiasm, depression, exhaustion. So that's kind of the stress response, and next time we'll look at how you can change that and respond instead. So, let's start with a meditation. So this is a really quick one. This is called something called the 3-minute breathing space. And the idea with this is we can use it at different times in the day. We're going to start off just by practicing it here when we're sat down in a quite comfortable environment. The idea is in life, if something happens, to use it as a way to ground yourself back in the present moment and what's going on. Really break your state, because it's 3 minutes long. To take 3 minutes out of your day is not really a lot. So let me just find it a second. Okay, so the 3 steps, I'm going to explain them first so you know what they are, and then I'll actually go through the meditation so you're practicing it, okay? And then later on I'll put that on the Dropbox. So the first step is acknowledging. So bringing yourself into the present moment by deliberately adopting a dignified posture. Remembering all postures are linked to a state, an emotional state. Then ask yourself, what's going on for me right now? Notice and acknowledge your experience. Instead of turning away, actually accept all the experience as it is, whatever's going on in your body, whatever the emotions and thoughts are, and stay with them. Sit with them for a few moments, allowing any negative feelings or experiences to be present. The second step is gathering, so you then gently focus your attention in on the breathing, and then fully experience each in-breath and out-breath as they follow, one on the other. And the breath can function as an anchor to bring you into the present moment and help you tune into a state of awareness and stillness. And the third step is expanding awareness. So expand your awareness around the breathing to the whole body and the space it takes up, as if your whole body was breathing. And get a sense of the space around you too, and holding everything in awareness. So you're noticing what's going on in the present moment, bringing your attention to the breathing and expanding that awareness to everything around. And it kind of looks a bit like an hourglass, because you sort of, lots going on, right down to the breathing, not much going on, back out to everything going on. Okay? So, if close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you, or just lower your gaze. If you could adopt a posture for you which you feel is dignified, whatever you like. And ask yourself, what's going on for me at the moment? Any thoughts, emotions you might be feeling? Any sensations in the body? What's happening right now? Just acknowledge the experience, not turning away. Accept all your experiences in the body, all the emotions and thoughts. Just allow them to be. And then when you're ready, on an in-breath, gently focus your attention on the breathing. Fully experience each in-breath and then each out-breath as they follow one after another. Breathing in, breathing out. And remember, the breath can function as an anchor to bring you into the present moment and help you tune in to a state of awareness and stillness. Now expand your awareness around your breathing to your whole body, as if your whole body was breathing now. Noticing the space that the body takes up and the space around the body. Hold everything in awareness. When you're ready, wiggling fingers and toes and bringing yourself back into the room. Gently opening your eyes. How was that?
Great.
So, the idea is with that, it's really simple, there's 3 steps and you can just use it to break that state when something that's difficult is happening. And just, gives you more an opportunity to notice things, notice perhaps where you feel emotions in your body, or even notice where your thoughts are. So we're going to read a little bit more and then do another meditation. So this is an excerpt from the stress reaction cycle from Full Catastrophe Living, chapter 19 by John Kabat-Zinn. Human beings are remarkably resilient to stress. As human beings, we are very skilled copers and problem solvers, using our own internal resources, pleasurable and meaningful activities, and encouragement and support from friends and family to deal with stress. But it's also true that our usually stable balance can be pushed over the edge into dysregulation and disorder if it's taxed beyond its capacity to respond and adapt. Your health can be undermined by a lifetime of ingrained behavioural patterns that compound and exacerbate the pressures of living we continually face. Our automatic reactions to stress, often triggered without awareness, often exacerbate the stress, making simple problems into much worse ones and largely determining how much stress we experience. A lifetime of unconscious reactivity to stress significantly increases our risk of eventual breakdown and illness, both mental illness, emotional health problems and physical illness. Like the person I just showed you, we all experience external stresses from biological, physical, social, economic and political forces that bear on us and generate changes in our bodies, our social status and our lives generally. From the inside, our thoughts and emotions are strongly affected by our perception of these outside forces and also generate their own stressful reactions, producing another whole set of pressures and demands. Some stresses affect us over extended periods of time, and we would call these chronic stresses. For instance, taking care of a family member who's disabled, or working very long hours over an extended period of time are forms of chronic stress. Other stresses come and go over relatively short periods of time. An example is getting something done for a deadline. These are called acute stresses. We react to stresses in different ways depending on how far we perceive them as threats to our well-being or our sense of self. Our reaction can range from minimal, where little or no threat is perceived, to an automatic alarm reaction, where the stressor is highly charged for us emotionally or is perceived as being a definite threat in some way. The alarm reaction is our body's way of clearing the decks for defensive or aggressive action to protect ourselves in life-threatening situations and to maintain or regain control. People, in common with animals, go through a physiological reaction when feeling under threat called fight or flight. This leads to a state of physical and psychological hyperarousal, where we experience muscle tension, strong emotions and rapid nervous system firings, and the release of stress hormones such as adrenaline. We become very alert and attentive. The heart beats faster, raising blood pressure, and blood is redirected from digestion, causing feelings of butterflies in the stomach, to the large muscles of the arms and legs. If you're about to be eaten by a tiger, then there's not much point in continuing to digest food, right? You need to have as much energy as possible to run or fight, whatever you choose to do. The activity is regulated by the autonomic nervous system. The fight or flight and freeze reaction helps us to survive when we find ourselves in life-threatening situations. If we watch wild animals, when they're threatened, they react and then recover quickly, beginning to graze again. For humans in modern society, however, much of our stress comes from threats, real or imagined, to our social status rather than our lives, and that's really the key thing here. The threat is to our social status as opposed to just a simple life threat. But the fight or flight reaction kicks in even when there's no life-threatening situation facing us. It's sufficient for us just to feel threatened. Our body and mind react automatically, whether the threat is actual or imagined or anticipated. This happens often enough. Unfortunately, hyperarousal can become a permanent way of life. This can manifest in chronic muscle tension, shakiness, faster heart rate and frequent urges to flee or lash out in anger or get into arguments and fights, and get used to this certain way of being and having a certain level of these chemicals running through our bloodstream. If this becomes a way of life and we have no healthy way of releasing built up tension, we can drift into a state of chronic hyperarousal that we can come to think of as normal. This can lead to long-term physiological dysregulation with problems such as high blood pressure, digestive problems, chronic headaches, backaches and sleep disorders, as well as psychological distresses such as chronic anxiety. When we're caught up in this vicious cycle, it can just seem the way life is, that there's no other way. But getting stuck in stress reactivity is neither normal nor inevitable. We have far more options and resources than we might realise. And the first step on the road to recovery is to use mindfulness to become aware of what our patterns are, to notice them. Are the ways that we're using to manage stress in our lives actually helping? Or are they adding to the distress that we're feeling as we find ourselves argumentative with family and friends, or using a lot of energy avoiding stresses we fear might happen? Of course, there will be stressful events in our lives, but mindfulness can offer us an awareness and subsequent choices so we can respond and appropriately and wisely to whatever's happening. So it's about responding rather than reacting. Any questions on that thus far? Okay. So if we do a meditation now, we can do a sitting one, I think.
Alright, I'll cut it, yeah.
Okay.
But I'll start again.
Sure.